it's just going to fall face flat, because what we're trying to say here is that when it comes to, for example, the human nature, it has its own definition. Both of these definitions are formally different, right? And it has like a correspondence to the agent because the agent possesses these two natures. But that doesn't necessarily mean
So
that
how has this been anything different than what I'm saying?
because mine is two different respects, while yours is one respect. Because you're saying that there's one shape, there's one form. Well, if this one form consists of these predicates, right, which are contradictory, then there's going to be one definition understood. There isn't going to be two definitions understood, only one. Whereas when it comes to the divine nature and the human nature, there's still two definitions understood, not one definition understood. So you can be saying, oh yeah, like you're trying to like analogize this to the hypostatic union, but that isn't the case because there's still one definition understood. So there's still one respect. Whereas the hypostatic union, there's two definitions understood. So there's two different respects. It's not really hard. That's why when it comes to, oh, he's not even here. Christian Corp, bro. This guy. What are you talking about, Yappa, bro? Mr. Definitions exists outside of that. Yeah, this guy's a troll.
G1.
The wild
Hey,
one.
do you think I could be co-substantial with the Father?
Do you think you can be co-substantial with the Father? Could you be sure if the Father incarnated?
No, the Father hasn't. Right now, do you think God could make it to where I'm co-substantial with the Father?
That's kind of big. Are you saying like pertaining to his divinity or pertaining to like if he assumed humanity?
I'm saying right now, Jesus is co-substantial with the Father, right?
Yeah.
Could I be co-substantial with the Father and Jesus?
In the same way of how the Son is co-substantial with the Father?
Yeah, in the same way that I partake of the divine essence.
No.
What's the contradiction?
What's the contradiction? I'll say the inconsistency would be that, modally speaking, like you as a person is like created. So it wouldn't be a case where...
But I would be created only insofar as my human nature and uncreated so far as my divine nature that I share with the Father.
No, because your personhood is created. Because when it comes to your human nature...
I'm only as a person created insofar as my human nature.
Yes, whereas when it comes to the divine nature, the personhoods are not created.
Right, so there's no problem in that. If as long as I specify which nature, then there's no problem.
There is a problem because when it comes to the divine persons, right, they imply the divine nature, and the divine nature is uncreated. And if the divine nature is uncreated and terminates in the persons, then the persons are also going to be uncreated. Whereas when it comes to you, your human nature designates or terminates in your personhood, which is created.
No, I would be uncreated insofar divine.
You'll be uncreated. Because your personhood is created, so you wouldn't be uncreated qua divine.
Okay, so then let's try this way. Okay. Do you think that Jesus is a temporal being or a temporal being?
Do I think Jesus is a temporal being or a temporal being? Or it depends what the term Jesus is picking out.
The person. What else?
Yeah, literally.
So okay, the term if the term person, well, it just depends on how the statement's been qualified. If we're saying...
Is Jesus temporal or atemporal when he
Perfect. No, because then he wants to do like a quantitative state. Wait, Danny, I want because my phone, I just want you to, I'm going to tell you exactly what I told you and I want your input, okay? So he said that we have this one person of Christ who possesses these two distinct natures, and he fully possesses the properties of each nature without contradiction, okay? Like more or less, that's the hypostatic union, right? Now, I gave him the analogy of one shape that possesses the properties of a square and simultaneously possesses the properties of a circle and fully true of the same shape at the same time. So this shape is fully square, it has corners, and it's also fully circular, it has no corners. Do you think that's analogous, number one? And number two, what's your input on it?
It's analogous. He's going to have to, the way that he's going to have to reply is that the difference would be the set of divine properties are not mutually exclusive with a set of human properties.
Right, that's the only way around it, right? Now hold
Right.
on, G1. Now you go ahead, tell me your symmetry breaker for the analogy. What made it disanalogous?
I already told you there's going to be two different respects understood. Because you're saying...
But I'm saying it's two different respects. And you're saying Christ is also
Yeah, but
qualified
you're
by
saying
that the hypostatic union, this qua nature lingo, is just a linguistic resolution.
It's not linguistic. Because
Wait, maybe,
so
let's just
how
ask
is
him
what I'm
this.
saying any different?
I think this might be a clarifying question. G1, do you think there are any properties of human that are mutually exclusive with properties of the divine?
What do you mean by like mutually exclusive? Like
In the way that it's mutually exclusive, the properties of bachelor and the properties of husband have mutually exclusive properties. One is married, one is not.
Yeah, sure.
They have mutually exclusive properties.
You said mutually. So how you designate mutually exclusive to indicate again?
That their properties about one that
cannot be true at the same time. That's
Right.
what mutually exclusive
So you're
is.
saying this property. So you're saying there's properties of one which cannot be true of another property, considering the
it's
nature.
not. Look.
Yeah, what he just said.
Properties of a circle, right? And they're properties of a subject of a sentence possess both predicates. You can derive a contradiction.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Now, G1.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I want you to say, how is this analogous without just saying...
Well, let's go back to this. So do you think there are mutually exclusive properties between the predicate circle and square, G1?
Predicate circle and square, yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, what about, are there mutually exclusive properties of God and human?
So insofar, like, are you, because I really want to understand, so when you say like mutually exclusive properties, right, are you saying that there's going to be like a real difference between the properties, or are you just saying that the properties going to be included in the thing itself, like the same sense?
Okay, so that means that for any subject of a sentence, they couldn't mutually...
In the same sense.
Okay, so that means that for any subject of a sentence, they couldn't possess both predicates, human and God, because there are mutually exclusive properties of God and human.
Because I don't know, like, okay, can you give me another example of like mutually exclusive?
Yeah, so there's the predicate bachelor, there's the predicate wife, okay? There's a certain set of properties that are entailed by being a bachelor and being a wife. Those properties, some of them are mutually exclusive. For instance, being a bachelor, you got to be a man. Being a wife, you can't be a man, okay? So they're mutually exclusive, such that for any subject of a sentence, right, couldn't simultaneously hold to the predicate is a wife and is a bachelor.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think the properties are going to be mutually exclusive. Then.
Okay, so you're saying the predicate is human and the predicate...
It just seems that the properties... Yeah, because it just seems the properties are like...
Yeah, that's another mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, I wouldn't say like the properties are contradictory, rather they're contrary.
Wait, contrary or not, they can't be true at the same time.
Yeah, of course, but then
that's fine.
contradictories and contrary is not the same thing.
Yeah. Bachelor and wife are not contradictory in that sense. You can be like a husband, so it's not contradictory. But they're mutually exclusive insofar as both can't be true at the same time. We're saying the same thing. You're just trying to do like some dialectical move.
Dialectical move. Wait, repeat the last statement again. So you're saying the same thing pertaining to the hypostatic union.
Yeah. Well, what you're saying, because
here's a way to do it. Do you think that the predicate is God implies atemporality? Atemporal?
The predicate is God. Does it apply atemporal? Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the property is human implies atemporal?
Yeah.
Oh, so humans can be atemporal.
Oh, I thought you said temporal.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was the natural thing that I should have said. Do you think humans imply not atemporal?
Not atemporal. Yeah.
Okay, so then that means that they have mutually exclusive properties, human and God.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say. Yeah, but I wouldn't. Yeah, but I would be like, okay, so you're saying in this respect there'll be mutually exclusive properties. Right. I wouldn't say like but atemporality is more of like a negative property.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but would you say that they're contrary? Like you can't be atemporal and temporal?
Yeah, of course you can't be atemporal temporal.
Okay, then that's the whole point.
But I'm stating when it comes to the example which you gave, like when we actually analyze it properly speaking, it talks about like one shape, one definition of a thing. So we can't really necessarily say that the predicates which are contrary are contained in this definition.
I don't understand. Look,
Yeah,
so let's use the bachelor and let's use the husband and the wife example. Okay, so I would say they're mutually exclusive in that husband implies man and wife implies not man, right?
Repeat again. You said wife implies what?
The reason for why the properties of husband and wife are mutually exclusive is that one implies man, the other one implies not man, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then, for any subject of a sentence, they couldn't simultaneously possess both predicates, right? In virtue of the fact that they have two mutually exclusive properties, man and not man.
Yeah.
All right. So then, God doesn't imply time. In time.
The term God.
No, atemporal implies atemporal, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. And human does it imply atemporal?
Yes.
Atemporal. Sorry.
You say you implies temporal, right?
Does human imply atemporal?
No, it doesn't imply atemporal.
No, so you get temporal and not atemporal. So they have mutually exclusive properties. Follows the exact logical form.
Sure.
And so then you can't really say that a subject of a sentence can possess both predicates.
Yeah, but we're not saying that the subject of the sentence possesses both predicates in the same respect.
You're not saying that Jesus is God and that Jesus is
Wait, Danny, this is so perfect. You're saying, okay, you're qualifying it by two different senses, and I'm using the same language. I'm saying that this shape has corners. Oh, wait, I'm qualifying corners via square nature, and I'm qualifying no corners via circle nature. So what is the disanalogy here?
I really told you that this analogy is just going to be two different respects, which is being, like, for example.
Yeah, two different respects. And that's exactly what you're saying too. That Christ possesses them.
No, you're just saying, linguistically speaking, you're saying that's the case when we apply this like concept. No, but no, that isn't going to be the case. Because
wait, so just here, wait, let me get this straight.
And you're just saying you're applying this linguistic framework to this analogy to show that it's analogous.
G1. Look, it's not supposed to be an analogy, really. It's supposed to be an example of a certain logic, right? There's a distinction between analogy and an example. There's a logic that
I understand that, but look, but I'm saying that there's always going to be a qualification. Like, for example, when we say like Jesus. So when we say like Jesus is temporal, right? We're saying Jesus is temporal insofar as he has a human nature. So there's a qualification which is going to be induced. And
yeah, but this is a formal problem, right? It's an explicit formal problem. The content of the terms don't matter anymore because I can formalize it.
It's like, no, there isn't going to be a formal problem because we can.
No, I could just give you the formalization, and there would be you can derive
formalization, but we can use like a construction of as like to designate a qualification.
Construction of what?
We can construct, like, for example, we can use like the term as to indicate a reference which is being considered when it comes.
Do you understand what I mean by an explicit formal problem versus an implicit formal an implicit problem? Do you know what I mean by that?
I'm not too sure I understand.
An explicit formal problem is that when you formalize the statements, right, you can derive a contradiction without getting to the content of the constants. Right. So like an example would be A equals B, B equals C, but A doesn't equal C. You don't need the contents of A to know that there's an explicit contradiction if you're a classical logician, right? It doesn't matter what A stands for. It's an explicit formal issue. So I can just formalize everything I said and there would be an explicit formal problem. You don't even need to get into it doesn't matter what the variables stand for, right? So it's going to be something like this, right? For any subject of a sentence, okay, you stipulate the rule. If for any subject of a sentence, they'll call that S. S cannot simultaneously, you cannot simultaneously predicate P and Q, where P implies A and Q implies not A, right? That's the rule, correct?
Okay.
All right. So then, on your view, S possesses P. P implies A, right? Q implies not A. So then S can't possess simultaneously P and Q.
Nah, I think I reject that principle. Because I would say, like, a counterexample, that would be like a man.
If you reject the principle, you're rejecting classical logic.
Yeah, that's literally
I'm
just
rejecting the principle and reject. Okay. So when it comes to, like, for example, a man being both body and soul, right? We could say, well, the soul is immaterial and the body is immaterial. I mean, the soul is immaterial and the body is material, but these are going to be like two different predicates. We still
Yeah,
refer
that's
to
part whole relation, though.
yeah, that's exactly my point too.
you're
It's
saying
like
is a you're saying is a
You would
part of
formalize that
relation.
differently.
yeah. That's the point. It's not
So
Yeah.
how would this be formalized differently? That's what I want to understand.
Well, because the way that you in first order logic is a predication is not part whole, right? Because when you're talking about parts and wholes, what you predicate of the whole, it doesn't follow that you can predicate of the parts.
right. You can have things like emergent properties, like for example, a school of fish. You can't take one fish and say that that in of itself is a school. A school is said when there's multiple fish. It's a property that emerges. The same way, look, your analogy of body and soul, if I have a brick that's 5 centimeters long and I build a brick wall, does it follow now that this brick wall is 5 centimeters long? No, it's a property of the brick. It's not a property of the whole wall.
Yeah, in other words, that you really have two subjects, right? You have one of those subjects of the statements is going to be the whole, and one of those subjects, or really, you can have two subjects, two different parts of a whole, and then you wouldn't have a problem, because then
Right.
what you're having is something like S is P, P implies A, and then S2, right, implies Q, Q implies not A. You wouldn't get a contradiction because you don't get S and S is A and S is not A. You get S1 is A and S2 is not A,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
not.
But then there's two different subjects. So
Right.
without going to that like part whole analogy, just engaging with what Denny said, because that is important. Like that was literally just classical logic. How you said you rejected it. So on what basis do you reject what he said?
So you're saying when it comes to, like, the subject, right? You're saying when there's a predication being elicited and the predication like both of the predications are mutually exclusive, then it can't be the case where a subject can actually possess these predicates.
Yeah, so I'll give the rule again. For any subject S cannot simultaneously have the predicate P and Q if P implies not A and Q implies A. That's just in classical logic.
And you're saying, but these are just going to be contradictories, basically.
Right. The way out is actually, one way out is to say that there's not one subject, Jesus, that Jesus has parts, and that one part of him is P, the other part of him is Q. P implies A, Q implies not A. There's no contradiction there because you're appealing to parts of Jesus.
So we say parts of Jesus. Because so repeat that again. So you'll say
think
another
about
way
this
to get out of it
argument.
is to plead to parts.
Yeah, because that analogy that you used, where you have like one constituent of the human that could be said to be immaterial, and then another constituent of the human that could be said to material. If you do it the same way with Jesus, then there's no contradiction. But then the problem with that is, now, first of all, Jesus is neither omnipotent or not omnipotent, because that's not a property that he has. Those are properties of his parts. And the second problem is now there's two different subjects. You're not saying the same thing of the same subject.
Right. Yeah. In other words, you can't say that if part of Jesus is omnipotent, that the whole of Jesus is omnipotent. If you say the whole Jesus is omnipotent, then you get back right into the same problem.
Exactly. So you could either just say that there's two Jesuses, or that Jesus is not omnipotent and he's not.
In other words, you're so screwed, G1.
But I feel like when it comes to these predicates, I feel like especially the ones in which you used, like for example, atemporality, like you said temporality, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing that even if we say that there's going to be like
there's going to be a formal problem
positive,
no matter what the content is.
So even if when it comes to like positive predicates and negative predicates, it's still going to be induced.
Well, if you think that if you accept that principle, which is just in classical logic, right? And if you think that the form follows that principle, right, then there's just no way out. There's absolutely no way out except part whole relations. Or you could say, I think there was one other way, but it's not going to be fun either.
Okay, so when you say Jesus is what again?
So if you say Jesus is temporal, okay? Jesus is God. God implies atemporality or atemporal. Jesus is human. Human implies temporal. So you get Jesus is both atemporal and not atemporal, right? And you can just formalize that to show a contradiction. You don't need the contents of the variables.
Okay, so you don't need the concept of variables. Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's just so Jesus is God. Then what was the last statement in which you introduced here?
That the God implies the predicate. Human implies the predicate is temporal, and so you get a contradiction from those just in the terms of the form. Are temporal. That's probably the best way to go, honestly. Say that God is no longer atemporal.
Yeah.
More meaningful to say that God is temporal.
And whether or not that, look, we can talk about whether this applies, but the point is when Danny formalized it just in terms of variables, and you said that you reject it, that's a point that I want to talk about, because that's just a rejection of classical logic. So without mention of Jesus, so that there's no theological implications, just through the variables alone, is this a contradiction or not?
Or you have to reject.
But Danny, can you just formalize it one more time the way that you did before?
Yeah, so the formalization is something.
I think they're context dependent, though. I feel like the predicates are context dependent.
No, but we can talk about context dependent. We can talk about whether it applies after. I just want, because you said you rejected this initially, so
yeah. Here's what you have to. If you think it's content sensitive and you can get out of the problem, you have to reject this principle. Okay,
I have to reject this principle.
Here's the principle, right?
I don't see why I have to reject it, though. I can just see whether the statements themselves are just.
We'll figure out whether it's context dependent.
Okay, well, let's see if you accept that for any subject S, if S possesses Q and S possesses Q predicates, P and Q predicates, it's impossible that P and Q can imply A and not A respectively.
Yeah, because I feel like when it comes to the understanding, it's just inducing for the same subject. Is predicated by, you're seeing the same subject can't possess these contradictory predicates in the same respect.
No, what he's saying is this. Look, G1. Okay, we have S.
I don't see you to reject it.
Look, we have S, and then we have S has the predicate Q, and S.
Yeah, I understand what you say, but I don't see. Yeah, but I'm saying.
Can you accept that principle?
I can accept the principle, but I don't see.
You accept the principle. Now, look, all it comes down to, G1, is whether the statements have that form. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, but I think the statements are just ambiguous, though.
Hold on, I just want to articulate that in natural language. So we're saying that for any subject, if the subject has a predicate Q and a predicate P, and predicate Q implies something contrary to predicate P, then he can't have both P and Q at the same time. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay. So now at this point, it's very easy. It's just whether the statements, right, match that form. That's all it comes down to.
But I'm saying the statements are ambiguous. That's the whole point.
Okay, so
Jesus is temporal.
We'll just see, right? Here, let's use a test. Let's do a test set of that don't have to do with the hypostatic union. Okay, so ready? Does this match this form? A what's-it has a Glock. Okay, that's the first premise, right? You got it? A what's-it has a Glock.
A what's-it has a Glock? What's a what's-it?
We'll see.
Just like some.
This is just exercise, logical exercise. A what's-it has a Glock. Now, a what's-it also has a block. So it has a Glock and a block. Got it?
So what's-it has a Glock and a what?
A block.
And a block?
Yeah. Those are the two predicates of the what's-it. The what's-it has a Glock and a block.
So now, Glock implies not what. Okay? So a Glock implies.
Can you use like words which are more like?
No, this shows you what kind of problem it is. Trust me. Okay, if I say that a what's-it has a Glock and implies not what, does that follow the form of the principle that we laid out?
So you said a what's-it has a Glock.
I'll write it down.
Yeah. Look.
Dude, I think it's better for you to write down.
Look. The what's-it is the subject. The what's-it has the predicate block, and the what's-it also has the predicate Glock. Okay. Now block implies not what. Okay, and block implies what. So does this follow the same form that we laid out, the same notation?
I'm gonna put it on the screen.
He's right,
Tina, can you put me on big screen? Do you think?
It's just
Oh, sorry, give me 1 second.
I'm just gonna write it.
okay. Yeah, perfect.
Sorry for my family's. Okay, so let me write it out because honestly, I'm doing this to show you what a formal problem is in its essence. Okay, so here are the premises, right?
Wait, we could actually do it.
So it's going to be a what's it. A what's it was it has a Glock. Okay, and then second premise is a what's it has a block. Okay, and then third premise is that Glock implies, I'm going to change it just to make it easier, a what, okay, and four, a block, okay, implies not what, okay? Do you get a contradiction from these statements?
Do you get a contradiction? Was it?
Look, and we can actually do the same analogy that we talked about. If we say that we have a shape, so like.
Well, I want to get there. I'm doing this for a reason.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The reason why I'm doing this is because you can derive a contradiction and have no clue. It doesn't matter what a Glock is. A Glock could mean anything, right? It does not matter what these terms mean, okay? It's not content sensitive. This is the nature of a formal problem. Here, you can derive a P and not P, right? So that means that you can derive that what's it. The conclusion from this is that is what. You can derive from that this, and then what's it is not a what, which is in classical logic contradictory.
Yeah, exactly. And then
so it doesn't matter. So you understand G1? Do you want me to define this for you?
No, I can see what you're saying.
Wait, so do you agree that this corresponds to the same like formal notation that we laid out? Like,
right. Do you agree? Then I'm going to actually define this for you.
I agree, but I feel like
okay. Now watch this. I'm going to define what a what's it is. A what's it.
Wait, before that, I just want to clarify. He just demonstrated that this is not content sensitive. It's
not content sensitive. Now I'm telling you what a what's it is. What's it is Jesus. Glock is God means human. Okay? Block is a new term for God. And then what means temporal. Okay? You've already agreed it doesn't matter what they mean. And here I give you the meanings, you get a contradiction.
Yeah, no matter like what you implied, because you agreed that this follows, it's a contradiction, you can derive a contradiction, and you agreed that it's not content sensitive. So here, if we just substitute the terms.
Yeah, and like I earlier stated, right? And when it came to the principle, when she elicited, that would be no problem. And like I said, the principle is just illustrating. But when it comes to a subject, a subject can't possess contradictory predicates in the same respect.
Yeah, but you telling us this. Look.
Whereas when it comes to Christ, right? Christ's predicates are not predicated of Christ in the same respect.
Okay, that's fine.
The contradiction is not going to occur because even when we look at, for example,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
Hold on. Because even when we look at the formulation itself, the formulation is presupposing that reading of the principle. Right, because of course the principle is stating that a contradiction is going to occur because the contradictory predicates are predicated of the same subject in the same respect.
Wait, how? What if he says? What if he says that what's it is what qua Glock, and what's it is not what qua block.
Why? You're saying as you're just saying as but there's still going to be a same respect which is being induced. That's the point.
Okay.
You can say as.
Hold on. Because look, we just gave you the same notation, and you said it's not context dependent. So the same that you said, that you said that Christ possesses these contrary properties in different respects is the same way that we can just say you agreed this is a contradiction. Now, if I say that this contradiction is solved by saying he possesses what in a different respect than he possesses not what, does that follow?
Repeat it again. The last statement again.
Look. Okay. you agreed that this notation that Denny has up, this derives a contradiction. Now, if I say what's it is what in one respect and is not what in a different respect, does this resolve the contradiction?
Does this resolve the contradiction? Well, it just depends, because we have to understand the nature of the sub.
Contradiction is not depends. Look, Denny, I'm gonna ask you the same thing I just asked him. Denny,
No,
this
because
contradiction
you just
that you
saying
laid out.
no, because you just saying wait, hold on, because you just say, oh yeah, there's two different respects, doesn't necessarily absolve the case if the
That's
thing
my
is
point.
contradictory or not. Yeah, I understand that's your point.
Hold on.
I understand that's your point. But I'm
My
saying,
point is you saying it has two respects doesn't solve the contradiction either. You're just saying it.
why am I getting muted? What the heck?
Okay, wait, just 1 second. Before you say something, Danny, can you unmute?
But
Okay.
maybe one of us should just talk to him. I don't know.
Yeah. Look, I'll stop talking after this. I just want this to be out of the way. So we all agreed that this form derives a contradiction, right? And we all agreed it's not context dependent. Now, Danny, knowing that this derives a contradiction, if I said that what's it has what qua glock, and what's it has not what qua block, does that resolve the contradiction?
It does not.
Because that's not telling us anything. You're just saying that there's a predicate in reference to the subject, and there's another predicate in reference to the subject. That isn't telling us if the subject.
Okay, well, let's do it this way. G1, I just erased it. Okay, the question is, I'm gonna from these four premises. Okay, from these four premises, can you derive a contradiction? Sorry, can you derive a contradiction from those four premises?
Yeah, I really said yes, because it's
okay. And so you understand what that means is that's a claim of necessity. It's not.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't matter what's it could stand for my house.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm saying that the contradiction occurs because of the principle in which you illustrate, and the principle illustrated just suggests for a subject cannot possess contradictory predicates in the same respect.
The contradiction is derived from the principle that you accepted. The principle is that for any
the principle is that, and I'm giving the reading of that principle. That's the whole point, and I'm saying that the reason why it's
principle in. Okay, let's write the principle in, just so that we're on the same page. Okay. So here's the principle: is that for any S, okay, any subject, if S cannot simultaneously have P and Q, simultaneously have P and Q predicates, where P and Q imply A and not A, respectively. That's the principle. Do you accept that principle?
Yeah, I accept the principle. I never said I didn't respect the principle.
I don't know what else to say. Without getting, the next level would be like understanding that it doesn't matter what S stands for. So if S stands for Jesus.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, so where are we disagreeing?
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's just like inducing the idea that when it comes to the subject in the sentence and the predicates within that sentence, where the predicate is being applied to the subject in the same respect. That's the whole point. That's the disagreement.
There's no such thing as in respect when it comes to this principle.
You just said respectively. So what does respectively indicate here?
Respectively means in order, meaning that if P implies A and Q implies not A, it doesn't have to do with a sense like English has two senses. One has to do with nationality, the other one has to do with language. Respectively means in the respective order.
In the respected order, and the order is going to
so I can just read. Do you understand what I mean?
I said, what's the order going to indicate here again?
All respectively means that where P implies A and Q implies not A. That's all that means.
Yeah, in P, you said P implies.
You know what respectively means? Like if I say that I went to the store, I bought some salami, and then I went to the movies. That in that respective order, do you understand what that means?
Yeah. That's in the respective order. Yeah, sure. But
right. So all it's just saying is that P implies A and Q, where
P implies A and Q implies not A. That's the point.
It just means where P and Q imply not A and not A.
I think if you just reword it,
and you're saying, that's the whole. Because even when we look at, for example, you said order, right? And you're stating that when it comes to the order, it's going to be a sequence, right?
I'm just gonna read.
Well,
I can't believe we're stuck
just
on
say
this
where
point.
P implies
P
A and Q
implies A and Q implies
because
not A.
not
That's all that meant, G1.
Yeah, and that's just going to be in the same respect. Like
No, no,
even if that is even illustrated, so
no,
that
no,
isn't going to be in the same respect.
no. There's not There's nothing like that in the principle.
So there's no so there's no respect which is being understood.
Yeah, let me explain why. Let's just look at something that we agree on. Do you think that this is sufficient? Um, let me do. Is this sufficient for a contradiction?
Is it sufficient for a contradiction? Yeah, of course.
No, according to you, you need the added a statement that
Yeah,
in the
because the
same
respect is
respect.
being because respect is always understood. Like what the heck? Because when you
No.
say P and not P, you're saying this thing is not this and not that. It's a respect which is being understood.
Okay.
What the
So then
heck?
why it doesn't make any difference here?
Look.
Yes, that's the whole point. Because I'm saying it's still the same thing. What the heck? You just illustrated the same thing.
Danny, this is what he's
You want
saying.
to try?
He's saying, look, S has A qua P, and S doesn't have A qua Q.
Is that what you
No, but
mean?
even just saying that doesn't get us to understand if writing S has these two things in the same respect or not. Because you can just say, for example, like for example, you could say like a man, yeah, like you can say like a man, yeah, let's say for example there's two predicates, right? And you say that a man is this predicate or man qua predicate this and yeah, qua predicate X and qua predicate Y. Both of these predicates is not going to really tell us if it's being applied to the same subject in the same respect just because we use the term qua. Because I feel like when it comes to the way in which you illustrate this qua example, you kind of indicate that it's like a linguistic
Okay. Let
convenience.
me understand. Let me just understand our disagreement. Okay. We agree that this is true, right?
Yeah, I believe it's true, and I'm just
Okay, and
saying
I
that when it
added
comes
to
to
it. I
verses.
added the word necessarily. Is that true? Is that okay?
Yeah, there's no
Okay,
disagreement
so we
there.
agree this is true. And so our disagreement, and we agree that even if we substitute and then you're saying if we substitute S for Jesus and P and Q for God and human, and then A and not A for temporal and atemporal, okay, you're saying there isn't a contradiction.
Yeah, there isn't a contradiction because there isn't the same respect which is being
Okay,
understood. That's the point.
so then just so I understand our disagreement. Our disagreement is that this principle, right, doesn't always imply a contradiction if some set of statements match the form. Is that what you're saying?
If some set up like you have to explain what that means. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so that's to say that if I create a set of statements that match the form of this principle, that there are cases where it doesn't imply a contradiction. That's what you have to say.
You kind of reinstated the same thing.
He's saying that there can be like, look, this form that he just laid out, S having P and Q, where P implies A and Q implies not A, that this isn't always true. It can be a contradiction in some cases. It can be not a contradiction.
No. That's not what God forbid.
You see what I'm doing, G1? I'm trying to figure out where we disagree.
I can tell you where. Look,
Go ahead.
so
Okay.
if you replace these terms with like S is Jesus and P is divinity, Q is humanity, and then A is temporality. I mean atemporality, and Q is temporality. He's saying, like, look, actually, just write that out. Right?
Okay, what do you want me to write?
S is gonna be Jesus,
S equals Jesus.
and P is divinity.
Okay, is God, and Q
is humanity.
is human. That's because these are predicates.
Yeah, and then A is just gonna be temporality, or like you could probably swap them because.
Do you want me to swap A? Oh, I see. Okay, I can just
to avoid the confusion. Yeah. But
right.
A
So A is P implies A, so atemporal. That's right.
Yeah. So what he's saying is he would say, okay, Jesus is atemporal qua divinity and not atemporal qua humanity. Is that correct?
Jesus is atemporal qua divinity. Jesus, repeat that again, bro.
Look, okay. So what I'm saying, this form, if we literally construct the same form and use these like S equals Jesus, if I say that the solution is Jesus is atemporal qua divinity and not atemporal qua humanity or temporal qua humanity, this resolves the contradiction.
See, Yeah, practically, yeah. So
Okay,
there's two
wait, I have a way to go, Kalam. What about this, okay? What if it's like this? S is Danny, okay? Okay, is there a contradiction if I replace this with Danny?
Well, no, because if the hypostat union is what's being referenced here, then no.
Wait, then make sure I understand. Maybe we talk past each other because I don't believe the answer.
No. If we're replacing the person,
yeah, it's me.
And we're seeing you're the divine person, then no, the contradiction's not gonna occur, no.
So there's no contradiction in saying that I am God and human right now.
No, but
well, right now, yes, of course, but hypothetically.
Wait, well, how is there a contradiction?
Because we're saying in this case, if we substitute you being the person and your personhood is divine,
yeah,
there is going to be a contradiction here, no.
Okay, what's the contradiction?
Saying about your personhood is created, then sure, yeah, there's going to be a contradiction.
No, but I'm
it can't be a case where you can actually have a divine nature.
I'm uncreated qua my divine nature.
Yeah, but you can't be uncreated qua divine nature, because if you're uncreated qua divine nature, then it's just going to suppose, but the subject being you is also uncreated. Whereas the subject being you,
how is there a contradiction here, but not a contradiction?
Wait, hold on.
I said it isn't a what? I said it isn't a contradiction.
Hold on. Yeah. What you just said, G1.
I said it isn't a contradiction.
There is no contradiction. There's possible.
I said yes, it's possible if you being substitute with the divine person. Yes, if you're a divine person, sure.
Hold on, you said something important.
I don't see any contradiction here.
What you said is that if Danny says he's uncreated qua divinity, that's just gonna imply that he's uncreated.
If he's uncreated qua divinity, it's just gonna be no, because earlier he stated that his person isn't uncreated.
I could have sworn
he stated hold on. He stated his person isn't uncreated. That's the point. And I said because his person isn't uncreated.
No. I'm uncreated qua divinity, but I'm created qua humanity.
You're created qua. We don't even believe this applies to Christ.
I'm not saying it's not about Christ.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is just going to be a problem.
The point is that we agree. Actually, this is good. We agree that that's not enough to get out of the contradiction. To say
but I'm saying there's a problem both. Yeah, but I'm saying there's a problem both ways. Because if you're saying you're uncreated qua divinity, then you're saying you're created qua humanity. Then you're just saying that your personhood is created uncreated, which is just going to be.
That's the point. That's the point. That's the whole point.
Hold up. But we don't say. Yeah, but we don't say that when it comes to Christ. We don't say that Christ is uncreated qua divinity.
Look, if we just replace created, hold on, what you just said, if we replace created with temporal, you would say that Christ is atemporal qua divinity and not atemporal qua humanity.
Yeah, because of course, that's gonna designate the nature. But then are we
gonna have to write this out?
Then I did say, hold on, and I legit did say that there is going to be a problem if you substitute Danny, and Danny here is just going to be considered to be a divine person.
Okay, let's start with the
reason. I said that.
By the way, I'm not G1 and I are getting along. I'm not going to mistreat him. Okay, like he's like we're friendly right now. So I'm keeping it together. Look,
right now, the uncreated and created. Like what we agreed, that's a contradiction.
Yeah, because there's a good thing here in that we agree there's a contradiction from here, right? What can you derive from here? You can derive that S is not A. And S is A, right? You could derive that.
Yeah, of course, there's going to be a contradiction, and even if you put.
So now I'm gonna change this to atemporal, okay. So is there a contradiction?
No, because look, when it comes to the term created and atemporal, created is just going to designate the subject itself.
Okay. So there's no way around this. I'm sorry, there's no way around this.
Bro, the legit is, bro. Legit is when you substitute yourself.
Listen to what I'm about to say.
In the equation.
G1, what you've done is when I change this to uncreated, right? There's a contradiction. But when I change it to atemporal.
Oh no! I said uncreated. No, my bad. Okay. Uncreated isn't a contradiction. I said create, like saying. So
there's no contradiction here.
No, there isn't a contradiction. No.
You just agreed that it was a contradiction like 2 minutes ago.
No, it's because you said it's because you said uncreated qua divinity and created qua humanity. That's going to be a contradiction.
How is that not the same as this?
Because you're not saying Danny is created.
Yeah, we're saying Danny's uncreated qua divinity and created qua humanity.
And by the way, you agree that
I didn't see the S is not A. Yeah, that's gonna be a contradiction. Yeah, that's gonna be a contradiction because you're saying.
So
Yeah, this is gonna be a contradiction.
The predicate with a different predicate.
Okay, so this is okay. We agree, G1. This is.
I didn't see the bottom part. I don't have my glasses.
Okay, so but if I accept the principle, and then these are what the terms. These are the contents of the terms. What the terms stand for. We agree there's a contradiction, right?
S is not uncreated, and S is good. So S is uncreated. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna change it. Okay, I'm gonna change it to atemporal. Is there a contradiction?
Is it gonna be a contradiction? No. That's not gonna be a contradiction.
Okay, so what's happened here is the principle. You cannot accept the principle. The principle you can only derive a contradiction in some cases, but not all cases. So it's not necessarily you're rejecting the principle. That's what's going on.
No, wait, hold on. Go a bit down.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at the formula itself.
Okay.
Uncreated. S is not A. Yeah, but the difference here is because when we talk about like atemporality, it's just designating the nature in reference to the thing itself.
It's okay. You can have whatever explanation, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying this.
I understand what you're trying to say, but
let me repeat it just for everyone else. Then you're saying that there is a flat out contradiction when A stands for something specific. It's content, but when it stands for
because when you say like. Yeah, because the difference, because it's not really designating the person itself, but the nature and reference to the person.
Look, the point is, you can explain all you want. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily. There are things that can stand for A where you don't get a contradiction, which means that you're rejecting the principle. The principle is not universal. It's not necessary.
No. I don't really think that's the case.
Okay, let me start from the top. Okay, if you accept this principle, right? This principle, right? I didn't even finish the principle. For any S, cannot. It's impossible. You see the cannot? Simultaneously have both predicates. But notice that when I change it to atemporal, Danny can have both predicates.
Wait, go back. How to cool.
Okay, just so you know, you accept what's highlighted, right?
Danny, I have to go in a bit, and we can carry on this conversation on Discord or whatever. But yeah, carry on. I've got like 2 minutes left.
You accept what's highlighted that necessarily for any S cannot simultaneously have P and Q predicates, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so that means that in all cases, okay, if it follows this form, then you're going to get a contradiction. But when you say that we agree that if it's uncreated, you get a contradiction. But then when I change it to atemporal, here's a case where you do not get a contradiction, and you can you can have a case where you can have both predicates, which means that you're rejecting the principle.
No, I'm not rejecting the principle. I'm just saying that when it comes to the term uncreated, it's always designating the person. So if you think the person is uncreated,
we'll talk about it later. You're just not getting it.
I'll carry on with the conversation with you on Discord later.
Okay.
Because I have to go.
Okay.
In a bit.
Yeah, take care, man. Look, Danny, what he's saying is that the term uncreated designates the nature and the term temporal designates the person. But I really don't see how that's solving anything.
It's very simple, right? If you accept a principle, for all A's, they're B's. But then you find a case where A is not a B, and you're fine with that, you're just rejecting the principle.
Right. It's literally like all you
right. Here he found a case where you don't get a contradiction and you can have both predicates even though imply A and not A. That's just what it means to reject the principle, and he doesn't know it. It doesn't matter what your explanation is. And I know you're trying to figure out his explanation, and that's one way to work with him. It's like go from his explanation to the... But really, if you can't understand that he's rejecting the principle, I don't think there's any way to make progress.
Yeah, it really just seems like initially it was just a rejection of classical logic. Then he's like, okay, wait, I can't reject classical logic. Let me relook at this. Then we visit it again. He agrees that, okay, the form is correct, but he's like, it's context dependent. Then he agrees that it derives a contradiction and it's not context dependent, yet somehow comes back full circle and says that it's context dependent again.
Right, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it is crazy, but thank you for coming up, man. Wallahi, I was trying to find a way to articulate it, but you Like that notepad was useful, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's also easier to talk about predicates and meaning rather than properties too. I think because then you don't, because predicates are compatible with whatever metaphysics that you have, whether you think there are whatever you think about natures and properties and universals. People, nominalists, I think they're predicates. Also, realists think they're predicates. So it's actually a pretty nice way to kind of overcome all of the metaphysical baggage.
Yeah, thank you for like your explanation, and I hope Christian Cope, I hope you got that. But anyways, Tina, we talked for a long time. So is there anything you want to say?
W. That's what I want to say.
W Danny Loki.
Hmm?
That's W Danny. Okay, you can carry on with your. I only came up because of the first guy who was talking about. I didn't expect G1 to come, but G1 coming, it helped the live a lot. See, now you have 70 viewers, so do what you like. Anyways, like good luck with the rest of the live. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wait, how are you gonna leave when
Bro
Ahmed
dropped when I
comes?
came
That's
up.
crazy.
I was gonna say what's up, but
Allah and his throne.
Huh?
Ahmed said what's up, so I just answered Allah and his throne.
Wallahi, that was unplanned. Like, as soon as I dropped, I see this guy. Yo, Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed, bro. It's good. And Assalamu alaikum, Albert.
Bro, wait, you dropped because you saw me?
No, I dropped, and then he just coincidentally came up right when I dropped.
Say wallah.
But what did you think? You were here for... I was just upset because I was talking to him, and then my phone died mid-convo. Wallahi, I ran straight for the charger. I came back, and Danny was here. But, it ended up being better that way. I guess
Wait, he's
everything...
okay, real one for that.
Yeah. I didn't know he was in the live even. But shout out to Danny.
Yeah, to be honest, that whole conversation, it seemed like we were overcomplicating a very simple principle that your fitra knows very well, is that you know that Jesus cannot be all-knowing and not all-knowing at the same time. Now you can you really have to spell it out to him with P equals Q, Q equals P, etc. But really and truly, this is something your fitra knows even without studying philosophy.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, Tina, if you wanna give like da'wah to anybody,
Yeah, Christians come up. Don't run, Kalam.
Okay, I'll stay on the line.
What's up, Jacob?
Bro, I'm a Muslim, bro. Why did I come up? Bro, what the hell? Why you drop me down, bro? Assalamu alaikum, bro.
No problem. Alaikum assalam.
He must have clicked by accident, like while he was tapping the live. As
Right.
everyone tapped the live.
Yeah, tapper, guys.
Wait, did you one get cooked?
I didn't expect it to be that bad. At one point, he just rejected classical logic, but he didn't realize.
Wait, is Christian Cole posting that?
I hope so, bro.
Guy did the same thing in Z's live Lamal, same reaction. If he's just a clumsy person.
Yeah, wallahi. Ahmed, did you unbox your Bianco latte?
Yeah.
How was it?
It's good, bro. I smelled musk therapy and the hibiscus.
You smelled them both on the same day? What did you think?
Bro, musk therapy, it was it's still on my wrist.
I liked it a lot. What do you think about it?
It's pretty clean, but I don't like that it has like something in the background. It's like very like body odor, like I don't know.
You think so? I thought it was more like floral. But what do you think of hibiscus mahajad?
The hibiscus is very good.
Yeah, I like that one.
Good. It's like a very like a dark tea scent, but it's like very strong.
Masterful magician and Chad Kalamist Elish Sophist Christian. Thank you, Christian Cope, for clipping that. Anyways, if anyone wants to come up, discuss with Tina, because I guess Tina's been dying to discuss. We low-key took over her live, so sorry about that.
I'm chilling.
56 minutes. Wait, that's actually a tough title, Masterful Magician and Chad Kalamist.
Oh wait, I just realized that has to be ChatGPT, bro. Christian Cope, do you get your titles from ChatGPT? Be honest.
No, Christian Cope is just very articulate with his words.
It's not.